This is Alumni Spotlight, brought to you by Rosemont College. Today, we'll be meeting Tracy Kauffman Wood. Tracy earned her MFA in 2015 and recently met with Alumni Director Joe Dara over Zoom to discuss her memoir, Our Dementia, a story that follows the journey of her mother's experience with dementia.
As all memoir, this is a true story. After I went through it, I found myself journaling a lot about the experience. Of course, I couldn't do it while I was in it. It was too much. But I did start afterwards. In fact, I realized that, if I had been able to give so much time during the experience with my mother, that I could give myself time afterwards, after she passed away, to write, give myself a writing day during the week and just pour it out. And that was a lot of journaling. And then I found that from the journaling that I was starting to form short memoir vignettes and, about the experience. And so that's how it started growing. And I soon realized, this was a whole new body of work for me, and that it was a body of work worthy of doing something because it's such a present topic right now. It's so current with people. And so I thought this was one area of my work that, if I was to create a book and publish it, it could help people. And it would also allow me to just explore memoir and the whole genre.
When you say explore memoir, Can you tell us about some of the other writings that you've done and, how that compares to the opportunity that you had here to explore the memoir genre?
As far as other genres, I've written short stories, I've written poetry, and I have other memoir bodies of work that explore, my childhood, or I realized that my whole life I've read biography and memoir, and that I love nonfiction, and that most of what I know I've learned through the eyes of other people in other situations all over the world. And I think that's why I love memoir. Exploring memoir feels very intimate to me. It feels like it's part of my soul. The one thing that's so interesting is often people with dementia lose memories. And here I'm writing a memoir. In a way, it's an exploration of what is memory through a memoir, and we know really so little about the brain. And when this starts to happen, it doesn't matter how much you know or how prepared you are. It's devastating. I think it's really interesting to think about memory because, what is memory? I mean, as I'm a photographer, and I know that often when you have, old pictures, they form your memory. They form your memories of an occasion or an event. And once you have a picture, you no longer really just have a memory. Your memory is really formed by the picture now, because that's what you have. And our memories are, fallible. And if you asked, my brother a memory of the same event, it would be totally different, or anybody who was there. When you have someone who's losing their memory, and all of a sudden, with dementia, a person can be totally out of it, and then something happens and they're totally right there again. They're back. And And then they're gone. And you think when they're there, oh, like we've got the right medication now, we've figured it out, they're going to do better. And then they're gone again. It's fascinating and devastating. And, it's heartbreaking and heartwarming. And when you look at it like that, from the perspective of a writer, it allows all the aspects of literature are like right there happening in front of you. A story arc, the ironies, and it's all very metaphoric.
Let's talk a little bit about the inspiration behind the book, and I imagine that this is a difficult aspect of the book to talk about. But if you don't mind, could you talk to us about the inspiration that you felt as an author about the experience that you had with your mother? What was it exactly, or what are some examples that made you think as an author, this is something that I want to share with the masses, about the personal, intimate experience that you were having with your mother?
When you write memoir, that's one of the first questions you ask is, whether you ask yourself it consciously or not, is this worth writing about? Is this experience something that needs documentation, and is it an engaging topic? When I was going through it, I was totally wrapped up in the experience between caring for my mother and caring for my 5-year-old. And I was in the middle, and some days I just thought I was going down right with my mother. And, other days I felt like I was, I needed to be this very responsible adult, which, the experience also I talk about in the book, brought out in me, because I think that, when our parents are alive and well, there's always, the feeling when we're with our parents that we're their child, and that, you just fall into the same patterns you may have fallen into when you were a teenager or whatever, because, you're with your parents. I mean, if you have that kind of relationship with your parents where, you've always felt that kind of closeness, that you could just let go of, any other kind of adulting kind of things and just be the kid again. And so when this happens, all of a sudden you're the adult, and it's very sobering. Even though I didn't write about it when it was happening, I knew that I needed to talk about this. I needed to write about this. I needed to open myself up and spill myself out and see what came out. There was just too much there that was so hard and also surprising. Once I started writing about it, I saw patterns that, weren't just about dementia or caregiving, but they were patterns of response in myself. And perhaps they were patterns that other people, notice or kind of dig into in themselves to understand ourselves as humans and what we do. And to maybe grow through the experience.
Can you talk about the heartwarming parts of this book? A few examples that you could give to readers as to what they can expect from that perspective.
I begin the book with a trip to the cemetery, actually, with my mother. And she is, she's well, and her happy-go-lucky self. And I try to show her exuberance and her optimism and her joie de vivre. her love of life. And I know it sounds funny going to the cemetery, but it was really just, it was a trip she wanted to share with me. And being the daughter, and her the mother, of course, I wasn't real excited about it, but I grew into it as we spent the day together. And it allowed me to show who she was as a person, and why it was so hard to lose her, to lose that vivacious personality that she had. And so it set it up, for what was going to happen. So when things started to happen, I tried to show it as scary as it was, show it to the reader as scary as it was to me. And to portray my naivete and my total unpreparedness and immaturity to deal with the whole thing. And so, that growth you follow through the book. But also, the weird thing about dementia is that it comes and goes. And so, you see who this person was, and then you see these devastating losses. And then all of a sudden, this person is back, for whatever, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, half a day, an event. And you just, you're like, what? Oh my God. But you don't, you just run with it because it's just so great. And whatever it is, that's wonderful. And you think that maybe we're on the protocol of medication is now working. Everything's kicked in. My husband would call that, he would say, I guess your mom's having a good day because, he would just go by my mood, so it would take me up and down and, take, I hope, the reader up and down. I had a friend who said that this book prepared her then for what happened with her mother. And, it's not really something you think about ahead of time. And that I talk about in the book. It's not something you want to think about, but it happens. And so it became a journey that I was on with my mother. We were on together. And it went, beyond the dementia. Her soul and my soul, we were together on this journey. And in the end, the up and the down and, the coming and the going, it happened all the way to the end. She came back again. And so I was really able to talk to her and express it and say, whatever it was, we did it, bravo. And I think that, even the book has a sort of an ending that is not so horrible. It's life. And there's some resolution there that really ties it up and is hopeful.
You've been listening to Alumni Spotlight. For more alumni interviews, follow Rosemont College on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. To nominate an alum to be in the spotlight or to nominate yourself to be in the spotlight, please send an email to Joe Darrah, Director of Alumni Relations, at joe.darrah, D-A-R-R-A-H, @rosemont.edu. Music track used courtesy of Ben Sound.